A young black man walks down the street in possession of his own means and of his own person, but something goes horribly wrong, and he finds himself in chains or dead. Whether this scenario calls to mind Solomon Northup or Michael Brown, in both cases, the young man's black skin was perceived as a limitation of his freedom, of his self-possession. He could be thrown into bondage because of his black skin. He could be shot dead because his black skin was an indictment before the facts. The parallels between Steve McQueen's 12 years a slave and what goes on too often on our American streets, and for that matter, on streets the world over, aren't perfect, and they don't need to be, but they are worth thinking about. How does a black person move through the world when that world is predisposed by prejudice or law to impose limits and inflict violent, painful boundaries on his or her body? This is one of the fundamental questions that lie at the heart of Steve McQueen's brilliant film. Versions of this question run throughout McQueen's other two feature films as well. Hunger, about Bobby Sands in the 1981 Irish hunger strike in Mays Prison. And Shame, about sexual addiction and technology's disabling of emotional connection. The reason that the body is so important in all three of these works, as McQueen told Henry Louis Gates Jr. in an interview on theroot.com regarding 12 Years a Slave, is that, quote, "The story is about the environment and how individuals have to make sense of it, how we locate the self in events. The body is used, but it's a byproduct of the bigger question." 12 Years a Slave was a winner of the Academy Award for Best Picture, and I have watched it 3 times. Like many viewers, I was both terrified and transfixed by the horrific scenes of violence. For McQueen, it was crucial to make visual the unspeakable cruelty of slavery. There is no better example than Solomon's hanging scene. McQueen told Skip that, quote, "Slavery is like the elephant in the room, and what you do is sprinkle flour over it and make it visible." We have to confront this topic in a real way. No one's blind anymore. No excuses. That's the power of cinema, unquote. McQueen is a visual artist whose work is not limited to film. He has also created great works of photography and sculpture. His work is held in museums around the world, including the Tate, the Museum of Modern Art, the Center Pompidou. He won the Turner Prize in 1998, the highest award given to a British visual artist. In 2003, the Imperial War Museum in London appointed him official war artist, and the resulting work, Queen and Country, was powerful and controversial. McQueen has blazed a trail through the arts by producing starkly beautiful works of the threats to and triumphs of human connection. For a body of work that challenge us to look and to change our perspective, it is my great honor to present Steve McQueen with the W.E.B. Du Bois Medal. Thank you.
His films and artwork are imbued with a clarity of vision that never shies away from the complexities of life and history and how individuals learn to find their way in our formidable world. The W.E.B. Du Bois Medal recognizes Steve McQueen for his profound inquiries into the life of both the mind and the body. Steve McQueen.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Harvard. Just trying to get something out of my pocket here. Awkwardly. I just wrote something down. I just thought I had to say something rather than mumble. The one thing I learned from my experience of making 12 Years a Slave is that it became a platform for talking about a time in history that was not recognized visually and verbally. The piece in some ways became a plinth in which people could stand and shout, or just place an object on it, just a sculpture, which echoes their reality. For me, art has always been about creating debate. The movie does not really start until people are leaving the theater, silently or talking to one another. The experience has to linger and embed itself as a memory. Solomon Northup was a free man from New York 160 years ago. One can think today of a black man who's free, but his freedoms are violated. Just coming here today and reading the New York Times or reading the New Yorker and seeing people's faces, like my own, in a situation of, what can I say, vulnerability, terror. It could have been me, it could have been a number of people here. And every time I open the paper, every time I look at the news, someone being shot for trying to get their driver's license. Just being normal, you could just be shot. Anyway, all I wanted to say was, as an artist, my commitment and my only doctrine is to not let the dust settle. Thank you very much.